Hello, United Hearthstone League fans. This is Ferris Biscuit for week 3 of the United Hearthstone League, coming at you with the recap. We have a lot to get into this week, so let's go ahead and jump right into the action.
Taking a look at this week's matches, we had Ziggy Sarah taking on Ridiculous Hat. We had CM Plummer taking on Ben Reddington. We had Spiver taking on Rod Johnston. And then we also have Versika Gaming taking on Andrew Is Living. Our first match of the week was between Versika and Andrew. Versika would be bringing his Warrior, Rogue, and Warlock classes, while Andrew would be bringing his Warlock, Priest, and Warrior classes. In Game 1, Andrew would take it with his Priest over Versika's Warlock, and Versika from there would try to bounce back with his Warlock in the mirror match. Unfortunately, Andrew would take Game 2 as well. And then in Game 3, we saw a Warrior mirror, which had Andrew coming out on top, taking a 3-0 victory. Match 2 this week featured CM Plummer taking on Ben Reddington. This one was quite a slobber knocker as Chris brought his Paladin, Warlock, and Druid classes, while Ben went with Priest, Hunter, and Warrior. Chris would jump out to an early lead in this one, taking his Druid class over Ben's Hunter. From there, he would continue the momentum, taking his Paladin against Ben's Warrior class. Ben would, however, bounce back, taking Game 3 with his Warrior against Chris's Warlock, and Game 4 as well, taking his Priest over Chris's Warlock. But in the end, Chris was able to avoid the reverse sweep, taking his Warlock over Ben's Hunter. Our third match of the week saw Spiver taking on Rod Johnston. Spiver would be bringing Priest, Warlock, and Hunter, while Rod went with Priest, Mage, and Hunter. Rod would take an early lead in this one, taking his Hunter class over Spivey's Warlock, and then also taking his Mage class against Spivey's Priest, taking a 2-0 lead going into Game 3. Spivey would rebound, however, taking his Warlock against Rod's Priest, but in the end, the Priest mirror match would belong to Rod as he takes a 3-1 victory. Our final match of the week saw Ziggy taking on Ridiculous Hat. Ziggy would be bringing Druid, Paladin, Rogue, while Hat would be bringing Priest, Druid, and Warlock. This match started off with a Druid mirror that saw Hat coming out on top. From there, Hat would continue his momentum going into Game 2, taking it with his Warlock against Ziggy's Paladin, and in Game 3, Hat just never let off the gas, taking Game 3 with his Priest against Ziggy's Druid. This week we saw a little bit less diversity than last week. As you can clearly tell here, Priest and Warlock were brought 5 times each because it looks like the players in this case opted to go with a strategy for this cycle of leaving the best meta classes in Priest and Warlock for last. Shaman was already played in weeks 1 and 2 and had no more selections left. And as you can clearly tell here, all the other classes were represented between 1 and 3 picks. Week 3 saw a little bit different of an outcome than we're used to seeing here, as both Rogue and Shaman were not brought at all as far as being played. Obviously, Shaman was already selected in the first 2 weeks. However, Rogue was brought twice, but never saw the field in any matches for this week. The big thing we want to take away from here is Priest and Warlock, both coming in, with Priest at least coming with a 57% win percentage at 4 and 3, while Warlock struggled coming in at only 4 and 5 and taking a 44% win percentage. For our overall class standings as of now, Rogue is in first place with a 6 and 1 record, 86% win percentage overall. From there we have Paladin just close behind at 6 and 2, with Priest coming in the third spot at 7 and 3. It's interesting to note that Warlock is currently sitting at 6 and 6 with a 50% win percentage, while most of the classes that you would expect to struggle, such as Warrior and Shaman and even Hunter to an extent, are at the 40 or lower percent win tile. Taking a look at the playoff picture, we have seen some movement this week. Ridiculous Hat claims the number 1 overall spot as he sits at 3-0. Rod Johnston coming in at number 2 at a 2-1 record with 8 games won. Spiver not far behind with also a 2-1 record but only 7 games won. And Chris sitting there at number 4 at 2-1 as well with 7 games won as well. However, Spivey has only lost 4 matches so far this season. Taking a look at the players that are still looking to get into the playoffs, number 5 we have Andrew, who's currently at 1 and 2 with 6 games won and 6 games lost. Ben is sitting at 6 with also a 1 and 2 record with 6 games won, however with 8 games lost. Ziggy is sitting at number 7 with also a 1 and 2 record with 5 games won, and Versika is still looking to get that first victory of the year. He sits at 0 and 3 and currently in 8th place. Looking ahead to the matches for week 4, we have Ben Reddington of the Dad Legend community sitting at 1 and 2, taking on Andrew of the Happy Hearthstone podcast, also sitting at 1 and 2. Some definitely big implications here as both players look to make their way into the playoff picture. From there, we have Ziggy of the 1600 Dust podcast at 1 and 2, looking to rebound from her loss this week, taking on Versika of the Hero Power podcast, who is looking to get his first victory of the season. From there, we also have a couple of playoff matches, at least for the picture time being. We have Rod of the Tier 5 podcast at 2-1, taking on Chris Plummer of the 1600 Dust podcast, also at 2-1. And then our last match of the week features Ridiculous Hat at 3-0 of the Coin Cassie podcast, taking on Spivey, the 1600 Dust podcast, who is also 2-1, looking to rebound from his loss this week.
To wrap things up this week, I wanted to first go ahead and announce the winner of the weekly pick'em. So congratulations to Risen. I will be reaching out to you to claim your packs. And I also want to touch on some things with the weekly pick'em. We do have the tweet that goes out saying, hey, retweet and like this tweet in order to get your bonus point. There are quite a few players who actually participate in the weekly pick'em who just don't take advantage of this. If the rules aren't clear enough, please feel free to reach out to me and I can gladly answer any questions that you may have regarding the rules. A lot of players do take advantage of this, which does ultimately lead them to becoming a finalist for the weekly pick'em, but I just want to make sure everybody's taking advantage of the opportunities that we are putting out there. The next thing I want to announce is that we are now on Instagram, and to celebrate our launch on Instagram, we're giving away 7 free packs. You can earn up to 3 entries in doing so. You can do that by following us on Instagram, liking and retweeting the pinned post that will be there all week on our Twitter account. And you can also fill out our feedback form that will be in the description section of this video, as well as on the pinned tweet and the Instagram post. You can find us on Instagram, if I didn't mention, at UnitedHearthstoneLeague. And as always, you can find us on Twitter at the same handle. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them at the bottom of this video or reach out to us on either Instagram or Twitter. That's all the time we have for this week. Thank you very much. This is Ferris Biscuit for week 3, and see you next week.